Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Nursing Shorts with Smita, and today I'm going to take another class over GI disorder, that is peritonitis. Peritonitis is an inflammation of the peritoneum, the serous membrane lining the abdominal cavity and covering the viscera. So basically, what is peritoneum? What is this word peritoneum, which is actually being affected in this condition? So peritoneum is the lining which covers all these abdominal organs and hold it together in your abdominal cavity. So that is your peritoneum. Okay. So in this case, peritonitis, this peritoneum and this lining will be affected. Now the word viscera, what is viscera? Viscera is another term which is used for addressing your abdominal organs. Okay, so now we'll move on to the causes of peritonitis. So based on the severity, the mortality rate depends. Now here in the middle part you can see these causes. So all these causes you can write as your etiology. When you're writing your exam, you don't have to draw this chart as a compulsion. You are not compelled to draw it. If you want, you can. You If you don't want, you don't have to. So here I have divided into mild, moderate and severe. So due to all these reasons, the mild state, the death rate will be less than 10%. In moderate cases, the death rate will be less than 20%, whereas in severe case you can see there is a high chance of mortality, and the rate of saving patient's life is actually less because it's 20 to 80%. Now the causes will see, it could be appendicitis or acute salpingitis, diverticulitis, non-vascular small bowel perforation, multiple trauma, large bowel perforation, postoperative complications, and so on. Now we'll see the pathophysiology. So before seeing pathophysiology, just take an example of appendicitis. Okay, maybe severe appendicitis or a rupture case of appendix. So here, so due to rupture of appendix, there will be a leakage of content from your appendix which was already in there in your appendix for a long period of time, being infected. So all those infectious content will start leaking in your abdominal cavity. So once that start leaking in abdominal cavity, so the bacterial infection will also spread from that area to your other abdominal area. Now the bacterial proliferation will start, and that will happen, that will progress to developing the edema in the tissue. Exudation of fluid develops in a short time. So these edematous tissue will happen, and the fluid in the peritoneal cavity will become turbid. Why it is becoming turbid and more dirty? Because there is increased amount of protein, your WBC, debris, and the blood. So all these things are getting accumulated in your abdominal cavity. Along with that, leakage. Now, so all these things will cause hypermotility or the increased intestinal motility, following by for it could be followed by a paralytic ileus. So in this case, if there is an accumulation of air and fluid in the bowel, then paralytic ileus will happen. Otherwise it will lead to peritonitis, and in any way it will lead to peritonitis. So once some infection is being caught in your peritoneum, it means in your whole abdominal cavity, it will lead to peritonitis. Now, the clinical manifestation. So it says that the signs and symptoms the patient will show, it will vary from patient to patient, but there will be acute pain or there will be a severe pain felt by the patient, which could be constant and localized, and also it will be more intense where there is an inflammation in the stomach. And it says that the patient, whoever tries to move or maybe tries to shift from their place to place, the pain will also get increased by that movement. Then the abdominal will be very distended, bloated, and extremely tender. Muscles are rigid. There will be rebound tenderness, which is the pain felt during the relaxation or during releasing the pressure. The paralytic ileus may be present in the case where the ileum or your ileum region is being paralyzed, and this is happening due to the accumulation of fluid and air. Now, the nausea and vomiting, which is the common signs and symptom happening in all your GI disorders. So here in this case, the nausea and vomiting will definitely happen. Then peristalsis will be diminished. There will not be peristaltic movement, or maybe it will be slower down because of that happening in your abdominal region. Now the patient will have fever, and also the pulse rate will be higher than 100 beats per minute, and the leukocyte counts will be increased because there is bacterial infection. So WBC will come, and WBC will also will be increased to tackle with that infection. Now, the assessment and diagnostic findings will start with taking the history of the patient and will perform the physical examination. Soon after that, you have to collect patient's blood sample and send it for your complete blood count to see the increased leukocyte counts, and also there will be decreased hemoglobin level. Why the hemoglobin level is being decreased over here? Because there is also a chance of internal bleeding in the abdomen. So patient will be anemic, and also the serum electrolyte studies should be done, as there is a potassium, sodium, and chloride alteration. Abdominal x-ray would be performed to see how many organs and to how much extent the infection is being gone has reached. And then CT scan of the abdomen may also show the abscess formation, because CT scan gives a very clear picture, so it will help us to know the abscess formation uh, site. Now, the peritoneal aspiration is also done in this case because we need to find out what all the bacterial infection is caught over there. So we will be taking the peritoneal content, we'll aspirate it, and we'll send it to the laboratory for the investigation purpose. And we'll, based on that, we'll start with the broad spectrum antibiotic therapy. Now, the complications. So here, because it's abdominal cavity infection, inflammation, so there is a chance of sepsis, and which is blood infection, or maybe uh, infection which is spreading all over your body. So this sepsis will be the major cause of death in case of peritonitis. And also the patient will be having hypovolemia and septicemia, that will also lead to a shock. And this inflammatory process will be happening because of intestinal obstruction, because here your intestine will get also obstructed, because all these process is happening inside your abdominal cavity. So the intestinal organs and the intestine will be stick together. This will be, there will be adhesion of bowels, and due to that the peristaltic movement will get decreased, and also there will be inflammatory process happening in your intestinal region. Now, the post-op complication could also be like wound evisceration or abscess formation. If these things happen, like if the abscess is forming after an operation or surgery, death, or maybe the case will get worse. So moving to the medical management, so we'll have to start with fluid replacement, because more and more fluid is being lost from the body. So start with fluid chloride electrolyte replacement. The administration of several liters of isotonic solution is prescribed. So here we have to treat hypovolemia. So by giving a vigorous amount of IV fluids. So analgesic is also prescribed over here by the doctor for reducing pain. And antiemetics we have to give the patient if patient have severe nausea and vomiting. And also an intestinal intubation and suction assist in relieving abdominal distension and prompting intestinal function. So if the intestinal function is being diminished due to any region, then we have to start with intestinal intubation. We have to start intubating, and we have to start with the suctioning process to relieve the abdominal distension and ease the function of abdominal content. Okay, so the fluid in the abdominal cavity can cause pressure that restrict expansion of the lungs and causes respiratory distress. So just imagine how in pregnancy the women womb gets increased day by day, and it enlarges, and ultimately it reaches to the diaphragm, right? So that is happening because of a baby is growing inside a mother's womb. But here in case of peritonitis, all your organs are getting inflamed, it's getting bigger and bigger every day. So this will start hitting on your diaphragm, and um, in just like in pregnancy, how a lady feels breathlessness and the congestion in her respiratory area, same thing will happen here. So this abdominal cavity will start pushing your diaphragm more upward in upward direction, and it will cause a pressure that will restrict the expansion of the lungs. So in that case, the lungs will not be expanded completely, causing respiratory distress in the patient. So here we have to start with the oxygen therapy. We have to give the patient maybe a nasal cannula. You can give an oxygen mask and start with the oxygenation. But ventilatory assistance is not required more often. Uh, as it's not going to be that severe, but we have to be ready for oxygen therapy in these patients. Like massive antibiotic therapy is being used here. Why we are using a broad spectrum antibiotic? Because here a lot of infection could be happening inside body, so we have to use a massive antibiotic, or maybe a lot of antibiotic together. Then surgical management, it says we have to do surgery based on the infected material, and also we need to correct the cause. So if it is happening due to appendix, so we need to remove the appendix, okay. And if it is happening due to some intestinal problem, maybe the cause was some intestinal problem, in that case we need to resect, and also we have to anastomose the remaining part of the intestine. And then repair perforation, if there was a perforation was the cause of peritonitis, in that case we need to repair the skin, we need to repair that area. Then drainage, if abscess was formed maybe post-op, then in that case you we need to put a tube inside, and then we have to drain that abscess. So with extensive sepsis, when the sepsis or the infection is extensive and it is more severe, the fecal diversion may also be needed in that case. So here we may be going for a colostomy or something. Now, ongoing assessment of pain, vital signs, and GI function, fluid electrolyte imbalance is very important as a nursing management. So you have to perform an ongoing assessment. So you have to keep a watch on the patient for his pain, his vital signs fluctuation, how his GI functioning, and fluid electrolyte imbalance. What is the value and what is the level of fluid and electrolytes? You have to keep an eye on that continuously. And also if there is any changes in the nature of the pain, or maybe in the location, patients complaining for pain may suddenly maybe somewhere else where he wasn't complaining for so long. So as a nurse you need to report to the doctor immediately, administer analgesic to the patient, and give them some different positions for easing their comfort. Now, the patient is also placed on the side with the knees flexed. So why we are giving this position, flexed knees position? Because it will decrease the tension in the abdominal organ, which we do not want. Or if already the patient is having a lot of things going on inside, so we don't want to give them another tension on their abdominal organs. So give them a knee flex position, then accurate recording of all your intake and output. So we have to make a strict IO chart in that case. Then CVP is assessed because it could be helping us in calculating our fluid replacement. The signs that indicate that peritonitis is subsiding, it includes that there will be a decrease in temperature in patient, temperature will be decreased and pulse rate will be getting normalized. There will be a softening of abdomen, return of peristaltic sounds, and passing of the flatus. So these are the signs and symptoms which we have to look for. Once these signs and symptoms are happening, it means the patient is getting better and he's recovering. Now, the nurse administers and monitors closely IV fluids. So here, IV fluids, what you are giving, you have to closely monitor. It should not be overloaded, but you have to keep an eye on patient intake as well as on his output. Okay. Now, the worsening clinical condition may also indicate a complication, and the nurse must prepare the patient for the emergency surgery. So, if there is any complication or some changes, if you are noticing, immediately the patient should be prepared for an emergency surgery. Then a drain is frequently inserted. So in case of any abscess formation, you have to insert a drain for drainage. Then the nurse has to look for that drainage content, and she has to uh, timely timely empty that drainage by best technique, or the technique which is used in that. So there is a pressure changes technique. So based on that technique only we need to empty the drain. Now, it is also important for the nurse to prepare the patient and the family for discharge. So, before discharging the patient, you need to teach the patient as well as their family member to how they can care for the incision where the incision is being made, and also for the drain, and teach the patient and the family members how they have to take care of that drain tube. Okay, so the nursing diagnosis is same as the nursing diagnosis of any other GI disorder, and you mainly you can have a nursing diagnosis from your the slide which I have made about appendicitis. So this is it about peritonitis. So thank you for watching. If you do like my content, and if you it's being helpful for you, you can share to your friends and subscribe to my channel. Bye bye.